I originally wrote these works for organist John Bishop in Birmingham Cathedral, Robert Green in Hereford Cathedral, and Carson Koeman for the chapel of Harvard University in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm so delighted to have Robin performing on this CD. His playing is very beautiful, with great clarity and accuracy. And to combine it with the wonderful instrument and acoustic of Ely Cathedral is quite thrilling.
Ely sprung to mind as a venue because, well, A, it's not very far away from Cambridge. It's our sort of nearest mega structure, isn't it, in a way? The acoustic is astonishing, and when I was looking at Andrew's music, I thought we needed that space. It's big music, it's music written on a big frame, and it needs room to speak, and so I thought, well, we definitely need an acoustic to work with. And the instrument at Ely is really fantastic. I'd had the chance to play it a few times before, and it's got a real clarity to it, which is great. It's not a big, heavy sound. It's a very powerful sound, but it's really clean and really athletic sort of sound for an instrument. And I thought that's really what we needed for Andrew's music. But it is an instrument, it's got all the toys on it, so it's got all the really big sounds, like the really big loud reeds and the really special, expensive sounds like the big Celestes and the very low pedal reeds and things like that. Andrew's music is so symphonic and the scale of the music is so big that we needed a very wide palette of sound on the instrument. And I just thought Ely would just be the perfect match, and I think the results speak for themselves really easily. Yeah, really pleased. When you're playing the organ, the room is just as much a part of the instrument as anything else, and when an organ works really well, it's perfectly in sync with the room. That's very much part of the organ builder's job, is to make that instrument have the smallest stop fill the room and the loudest stop fill the room, and all the different combinations work and get all the resonances to work. It's really, really specialised and artistic creation building an organ. And Ely's really successful in that way. So, as the player, often with the organ, you can't really hear what's going on because you end up buried in the organ, or you end up being deafened by one part of it and not being able to hear another part of it. And Ely is very much like that. So you're on the wall, you enter it by going up a gorgeous stone spiral staircase behind the organ, and then you go into the console, and from where you sit, you don't get a direct sound of any part of the organ other than one part, which is right behind your head. So when you're playing that, you can hear it really loudly, or very clearly anyway. Other parts of the instrument, which are much, much louder to the listener downstairs, listeners probably 50 metres away, they get an entirely different vision of what you're playing. So at Ely you have to play with headphones on, which mute the sound of the bit of the instrument that's right behind you, and the microphones are placed down in the church. So then you can get a better perception of what the balance is like and things like that. So that's very helpful. Of course, as soon as you put microphones in the room, then you've got another person's point of view of the instrument. So then you need to be working really closely with that person to give you good guidance as to whether the balance is that you think is right is actually working in the microphones, because those microphones aren't the same microphones you're listening through. When you're playing a big instrument like an organ, it's not unexpected to have to work in a way like that. Some instruments you get the most amazing experience from the console, but other places it's just not like that. Working with Miles was fantastic, and we were in good hands because I'd heard of him before by reputation, and so I was really excited to work with him, so that was good. And he found a good sound straight away, which is not easy, but that was amazing, and he was super calm, very detailed. That was really enjoyable. It's great working with a producer like that, because to have that feedback is so valuable. It's really, really great. And have somebody just spot little tiny things that you think, oh, that would never have occurred to me, and just pick you up on things that you might allow yourself to get away with. Given a chance, having that feedback from somebody is really great. I really love working with living composers. I think there's something special about the organ for composers, because you get to work on as an orchestra, but you only have to pay one person to play. So it's a different kind of approach, but you can explore lots of really big ideas on the organ because of the scale of the instrument, which is exciting. You sent me the music through and I was intrigued and interested in the scores. It's a bit like an actor getting a script in a way. You have a look at it and then you put it on a shelf and you thought, I'll come back to that. And then some things you don't come back to. But I didn't do that with this. Yeah, so it's a really fascinating music and really enjoyable to play. Everything sits under the fingers well. Things that are less idiomatic for the instrument, there's very few things that are, but again you often end up with a texture which you think, oh yeah, that's quite good actually, I like that. You get a different sort of effect, so it can be a real eye-opener. That's the hope whenever you get a new piece, that there'll be something in there that catches you and think, oh, I like that, that's good. The piece which helped me sort of get hooked into Andrew's music and trying to sort of get a feel for what was going on, what he was trying to say, was The Forest at Dawn. It does sit slightly apart from the other pieces in its structure and style, but I think that it's so lyrical and the melody is so haunting. The way he uses the instrument texturally really caught my imagination, so I think that might be a bit of a favourite. There's a lot of joy in the music. The prelude and fanfare and postlude is just great fun. I mean, really great fun, and I can imagine that coming out for parties and festivals and things. And it's great concert music, so it's going to really be interesting for audiences to hear. It's attractive music, and it's enjoyable music to play, and it's enjoyable music to work on, and I'm sure audiences are going to love it. So the good thing about the music is it's not at the upper end of difficulty by any means, so it's the sort of thing that organists won't find intimidating. So that's really good, because there's a lot of people out there who are studying the organ to quite a high level as amateurs or semi-pros or whatever, and they'll find it accessible and usable. So it was really nice talking to Andrew because he was very flexible in terms of what he'd expected. He didn't necessarily come with particularly firm or fully formed views on what kind of sounds you might expect or things like that. So that was really interesting to have those conversations and then be able to share some rough recordings and get some feedback on sounds. You know, this will be one of the things that makes me think, no, actually there were some really good things happening in 2020. So